What's going on, guys? Welcome back to Child with Ian. So in this episode, I'm going to tell you guys why I chose Delaware State University, right? If you watch my last video, link right there. If you watch my last video, I pretty much was giving you guys tips or advice, things you should consider when choosing the flight schools, right? So in order to put things in perspective, I decided to use those same criteria or those same advice and apply them to Delaware State University and actually compare Delaware State University to Auburn University. I think it should give you guys a better perspective on, you know, how to pick flight schools and stuff like that. So I'm going to tell you guys why I choose Delaware State University by comparing Delaware State University to Auburn University. Alright, so let's get into it. Ha! So let's get right into this, right? Let's get right into the meat of the subject. The first thing we're going to look at is flight training cost. That should be the number one thing you consider when you pick, you know, like to me personally, you know, my financial situation, that was the priority, was the financial cost. And let's look at the numbers pretty much. At Delaware State University, from your private pilot to your commercial, your commercial certificate, you would pay $48,000, $586, right? Versus at Auburn University, you're looking at $66,000, $862. So right there and there, you already see a huge price difference, right? About $20,000 of difference, right? That's huge. Now if you want to add on CFI, CFRR, and multi, which are requirements in order to graduate at Delaware State University, you're looking at $58,000 at DSU versus Auburn, where you're looking at $98,000. Huge price difference, right? That's almost the double. Yeah, it's not the double, but almost. Right, so that's it right there. That's a huge price difference between the two. Now we're gonna look at other criteria and see if, you know, that high ticket price at Auburn University is worth it, you know, compared to the lower ticket price at Delaware State University. But just looking at the price for right now, Delaware State University has Auburn beat by a huge price difference. The next thing we're going to consider is the location and the school in itself. Now, in that last segment, I was talking about just flight training cost, but now you also have to look at the actual university cost, right? Delaware State University is a state school, so if you from Delaware, automatically it's cheaper. And also, on top of that, even if you're out of state student, Delaware State University is still relatively less expensive, way more less expensive compared to Auburn University, right? So now you want to think about flight training costs plus, you know, the actual school fees, you know, the tuition compared to Delaware State University tuition plus flight training fees. The price tag differential is huge. It's huge. So that's something you want to consider. Next, when we looking at location, right? Delaware State University flight program is located in Dover, Delaware, where the weather is fairly good. You know, we get a lot of wind because we close to, very close to the ocean. We get a lot of coastal winds. But other than that, you might get some rain, some cloudy weather here and there. But it's fairly good weather, and I think it's the same, down Auburn. They located it's southern, it's south, but they also get a lot of I would say rain, a lot of clouds and stuff like that. So as far as weather concerned, it's fairly the same. It's fairly good weather here and there. It's very similar in terms of weather. Now, if you're looking at the environment, DSU is a way smaller school. In the aviation program is very family oriented. We know each other pretty closely, and a lot of us hang out together at DSU versus a big school. Auburn is a huge school. They have a lot of students. Even though they have a lot more planes, Auburn has about 35 Cessna 172 and 4 Piper Seminole, I believe. And DSU has about 20 single engine airplanes separated between Vulcan Air V1 and PA-28, and we have 2 multi-engine airplanes. Now you might think, Auburn has way more airplane, right? So and they're the better school or whatnot. But you also have to consider the fact that Auburn has way more students. Right? I talked to a lot of. I don't want to discredit, the other school, but I know for a fact that they have a lot more students, and when it get close, to stage check and stuff of that nature, you might have to wait a while to get a stage check in, right? And actually, I want to leave a video. I'm gonna give you guys a link to somebody who went to Auburn, if you're actually interested in going to Auburn, and get a review from him, because I didn't go to Auburn, so I don't want to discredit or talk bad about that school specifically. But this is just, in order to compare the 2 schools, those are things you want to consider. So when you're looking at these big flight schools, they also always look like they have way more airplane, of course, but you also have to consider the fact that they have way more students, right? So that's something you want to think about. Just don't look at the number of planes. Also look the ratio, airplane to student, because it comes down to flight schedule availability, right? A lot of those big schools sometimes might have, they deals with instructor availability. So you might want to fly, but flight scheduling might be an issue here and there. So that's something to think about. Next, DSU and Auburn, they both Part 141 flight school. So that's something I worried about when I made my decision. It was Part 141 flight school, actually something I didn't even really care about. Something that I actually didn't know much about aviation to know the difference between Part 141 and Part 161. But in terms of this comparison, they both Part 141 flight school, right? DSU is a HBCU and Auburn is a PWI. If that matters to you, I don't know, but just letting it be known. So that's for me, that's one of the reasons I choose DSU, because it was an HBCU. It mattered to me, right? Next, if you want to look at partnership, I know that DSU has a partnership with Paramount. Recently, we just made a partnership with Envar Air, and that's what I know for sure. I also know that our director is still working, with all the airline, all the people in the industry to make new partnership. And I know for a fact Auburn had the partnership with Delta Airlines through the Propel program, and they also, I don't know if it's still current, but I know they had a partnership. They had or might still have a partnership with JetBlue. So if this can be a deal breaker here if you want to. I want to go to, I want to fly for Delta eventually, so I'm more inclined to go to Auburn so I can apply for the Propel program. That's something to consider. That's something you want to do, right? But in terms of partnership, I haven't seen, besides Delta and JetBlue, to my research, I haven't seen any other partnership. They might have more, but as far as I know, those are the only 2 I was able to find out. through the website and through my own personal research at Auburn and through personal experience at DSU University. I know we have partnership with Paramount and Envoy, and it might be more, but those are the two official partnerships I know. Also, I know that both the schools are members of UAA, which is University Aviation Association. And what does that do is because both schools are members of UAA, that means that you can apply for UAA scholarship. Right? I received recently, I believe last year, I had a scholarship through UAA, and it was the Eugene Crop scholarship. Right? It was a $1,000 scholarship I received. So that's something nice. So if you also want to think about those, what accreditation the school might have or might not, right? Because that can lead to bigger opportunities. It's not just about the airlines. It also be partnership with either other schools or other, associations and stuff like that. Yeah. So next thing we're gonna talk about safety. Safety. Both schools have great safety records. I didn't find anything compromising at Auburn, and I know for a fact that at DSU we have a great safety record. So when you're looking at safety records, both have great safety records. What else? And that's all I got in terms of comparison. So with this being said, both schools are pretty similar, right? I know Auburn in terms of infrastructure might have better infrastructure, right? They have newer planes, with G1000 avionics and stuff of that nature. They have a big flight department at the airport. They have I know they also have a A320 simulator in the flight department, which is used. That's nice. But besides that, honestly, for that price differential, I would still, to this day, I would still pick DSU over Auburn because of that price differential. Right, it costs about $8,000 to get a private pilot at DSU compared to $15,000 at Auburn. For me, for somebody who doesn't have a lot of money, that sealed the deal for me. But if you have the means, by all means, hey, you can make your own decision. But that's what I have. Also, I know that DSU offer discovery flight. That's something I talked about in my last video. You should consider doing a discovery flight at no matter what school you want to go to. I know when I decided to attend the Western University, at first they didn't offer discovery flight, but now they do. So that's a plus. And also about Auburn, I don't know if they offer discovery flight. I know they do offer a tour. You can request a tour and actually go ahead and visit Auburn. I think right now it's suspended due to coronavirus. They do a virtual tour, so that's something you can do. But besides that, that's all I have actually. Both great school, and also another thing that people consider is the reputation. Of course, Auburn has a higher reputation, throughout the industry because that is just Auburn's bigger school. It's kind of like, oh, I went to Auburn, and somebody went to Auburn and somebody else went to Penn State. The average kid is always gonna look like, oh, he's smart or whatnot. But honestly, what you make of it, you can't go to the cheaper schools. What you make out of it, right? It's what you make the degree. But with that being said, that's what I have. I hope that gave you an insight into why I picked DSU University, which honestly it's a great school. I don't regret my decision. For great staff. Told you guys why I chose it. man, that's that, man. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you're thinking about DSU, definitely drop a comment below. You know, hit me in the DMs. Let's talk about it. You know, I like meeting new people. Besides that, appreciate you guys for watching. Subscribe most definitely for more video. I don't know what I'm going to talk about in my next video, but it should be something interesting. Appreciate you guys. Like, comment, subscribe. Talk to you guys later. Trouble in. Shout out.